Welcome to Compassionate Heart Parenting. I'm Michelle. If you've ever snapped at your kids and then felt the wave of guilt afterward, or wondered why you reacted that way, you're not alone. After 15 years as an emotionally focused therapist, I have learned that parenting brings up emotions we didn't even know we were carrying. Here, we'll explore what's beneath those reactions and the small shifts that can help you respond with more calm and connection. Welcome to Compassionate Heart Parenting. I'm your host, Michelle. Have you ever been in the middle of a screen battle with your child or any limit setting moment and found yourself so focused on getting them to stop the behavior that you completely miss what's happening underneath it? Your child is upset. You know you need to hold the limit, and somehow, in the heat of the moment, understanding their experience feels like it would mean letting them get away with something or letting them get away with bad behavior. But here's what today's guest wants every parent to hear. You can validate your child's feeling without validating their behavior. That one shift, that single reframe, changes everything about how limits land. Allison Zangari Arnett is a licensed mental health counselor, licensed marriage and family therapist, and certified emotionally focused family, couples, and individual therapist with over a decade of experience helping families navigate some of their hardest relational moments: divorce, blended families, high conflict dynamics, and yes, screens. She runs a private practice in Tampa, Florida, and she is also the brand new mom of a 6-month-old, which means she is not just teaching this work, she is living it in a whole new way right now. If you've ever wondered how to hold a limit without losing your connection, this conversation is going to give you something real to take into your next limit setting moment. Allison, welcome. I want to start with something you said that stopped me in my tracks, that we can validate a feeling without validating a behavior, because I think for a lot of parents, those two things feel really tangled together. Can you say more about that means and why the distinction is so powerful?
Absolutely, Michelle. I find that when parents in particular call me or want to start family therapy, they hear the words validation, or they hear even that it's called emotionally focused family therapy, and they get really like, wait a second, Allie, like you're saying it's okay to act this way. You're saying it's okay to look at your screen from the minute you get home from school to the minute you go to sleep at night. And it's really important from the get-go that parents know when I talk about validation, when I talk about empathy and curiosity for your child's experience, I do not mean moving the limit, and I don't mean permissiveness where there are no rules or no limits
Mm,
on screens. You can 100% validate that your child might feel sad, frustrated, angry, anxious, or D, all of the above,
mm,
without moving the line at all about taking their phone
mm,
or how long they're
mhm.
allowed to be on their screen.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so powerful because it does often feel like an either or. Like I have to come down harsh and I have to say, this isn't okay and this isn't
Yes.
acceptable. And like it feels like it has to be that way. And I love that you're saying it does not have to be that way. We can hold the limit, but come from a different place, come from a
Yes.
place, and also hold the child's experience at the same time, that they might be upset about this, they might be having a hard
Yes.
time, and that it doesn't mean that we're going to change the limit, but we can acknowledge what they're feeling,
Mm-hmm.
what their
Yeah.
experience is. And
Yes.
what might that sound like? Like if I let me paint a picture since
Okay.
I have two 12-year-olds and a 10-year-old. This is like a regular
Oh,
daily
good. Oh, good.
experience, right? Like
Okay.
my kiddo is let's say it's time to turn off the screen and I come over and I'm like, "Hey, it's time to put it away." oh, why are you so strict? You're the strictest mom that ever was. And why can't I just have 5 more minutes? Can you just,
Mm,
I don't, this, oh, you're so mean. And I just want 5 more minutes. And okay, go.
go. Wow. Of course, this feels so strict and horrible. I'm coming in yet again and saying, hey, it's time to turn over the screen. That must be so frustrating. You're so over it. You're like, Mom, why are you so strict? Why can't you just give me 5 more minutes? It's not that big of a deal. This just sucks. I don't know how about you, how you feel, Michelle, about parenting with the word sucks, but
I love
r-
it. Yes, 100%. I like
right,
to
like
speak my kids' language to some degree.
to the yeah, with some right. This sucks, and it's unfortunately time to turn over your phone.
Mm,
Right. So people get worried that if you say, of course, this is awful, of course, you think I'm strict, you must be so mad at me because I keep coming in and taking your phone at 8 p.m., that means then you hand the phone, or that means you leave the phone. Doesn't mean you leave the phone. But you do
hmm
want to front load your conversation with your child with what we call connection before correction, right? And
I
in
love that.
EFFT, it's really important that if you're going to correct a behavior, and this extends to all things, dishes, homework, laundry, you name it, screens, how can you connect with your child in some way before you correct what they're doing or ask them to change what they're doing?
Mm.
And
And
that,
that help me understand what makes that so powerful because I can hear that the parent's fear is, well, you're just saying, I'm going to leave the phone. And you're saying, no, that's not the issue. Like it's 8 o'clock. The deal is you're taking the phone away. You're still going to take the phone away at 8 o'clock. And you're saying that front loading with the fact that your kiddo is going to be upset. You know, they've probably said these things 100 times before. So you
mhm,
probably can start like empathizing before they start even complaining. But
yes.
how does that change what
Mhm.
happens if you front load with connection?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a little bit connected to your intro, where it's like, what's really going on beneath the screen? And I think
Mm,
it's easy to lose parents when you say things like it's not about the screens, or it's not about the dishes, or it's not about the homework.
mm,
But what I mean by that is if you front load with connection and you attempt to get curious or access some empathy for your kid, we might be able to find out what's really going on with them that they do pick up their screen so much. That they
mm,
do, like your kid is amazing at school and follows all the rules and even cleans their room, but when it comes to screens, it's like World War III. What is that really
mm,
about? Right?
mhm,
If you front load with connection, you now have the opportunity to learn that they feel lonely without it, that everyone
mm,
is texting and they don't start texting until 8:30 p.m. when
mm,
sports are over. That
mhm,
they're scrolling in an attempt and they don't even realize it to regulate themselves. All day
mhm,
was hard and having to do all those things, and now this is the time that they get to relax. If you can front
mhm,
load with connection, you have at least the possibility of learning what's going on with your child.
mm,
If you
mhm,
front load with correction, now we're just in the tug of war of like, I'm mad at you, but you have to give me the screen. Well, I'm still more mad at you, and I'm going to keep my screen. And we can, what EFFT talks about is like, you get stuck in this pattern, that's the same
mm,
dynamic that repeats itself every single day after
mhm.
school.
Yeah, I really love that you're saying first, sometimes parents don't even realize that there's something underneath the behavior. Like you said, whether it's dishes or screens or what have you, that if your child's having a difficult reaction, that it's most likely because there's something there that's worth being curious about. There's something there that maybe your kiddo's struggling with, or something there that would be helpful for you to know, or something there that your kiddo needs support around. So even that is like, okay, if my kiddo's having a difficult behavior, I can kind of see that as a signal that perhaps something else is happening here that they're
Oh,
struggling with. And then you're saying by front loading with connection, it creates an opportunity for them to say whatever it is, like, oh, I'm so stressed about this test that's coming up, or I never get to talk to any of my friends because they don't start talking until 8:30, or
Yes,
what all those examples that you gave that are things that are really meaningful to the kiddo. Sometimes it's a big, heavy stress, I could imagine, and sometimes it might be like a small daily stress, but they all matter. They're all your kiddo's experience and all important.
for sure. Yeah, sometimes it could be as simple as there's nothing underneath, but I really want to look at my phone and I like looking at my phone. And that makes sense too. Like if someone stood at the door when I got home after work and said, "Hand me your phone," I would be like really frustrated
Totally. Yes.
just because that's what I feel like doing right now. And so it
Hmm.
can be small, like I'm interested in this thing and it's just what I want to do. And it could be as big as what I think gets really popular in culture is like talking about screen addiction or phone addiction. Like there's a spectrum of things that could be going on, but we cut that potential off at the knees, I think, when we start with correction. There's actually nothing to talk, right?
Hmm.
Do this. No, I don't want to. Do this. No, I don't want to. Parent escalates, gets louder, gets more critical, or more limits are set. Child
Hmm.
withdraws, doubles down on holding the phone, maybe starts lying or hiding that they have certain
Hmm.
apps on their phone. And that's when things can really escalate.
Hmm. Yes. Yes, and I have experienced some of that in my own home because I one of the things I found most interesting about screens, and I don't know if you've experienced this or read about it as well, but that kids with ADHD or anxiety or depression or kids that are on the spectrum, that those kids particularly have a harder time with stepping away, that they're more impacted by screens, that they feel more drawn into the screens.
Yes,
And so I can really appreciate that, um, just what you said a moment ago, that if the kiddo's having a hard time with something like that, then they really need the parent support, but they might lie, they might hide
yes,
it, they might sneak it, they might do a whole bunch of different kind of things that are really just like they're seeking that escape from what otherwise is a anxiety provoking, difficult, stressful world. And like
exactly.
here I get to like, oh, just get away from it all and just
Exactly.
escape all
Mhm.
that, like you were saying when you get home from work, like we do it as adults too,
Yeah, yeah.
all the time. So I'm wondering, because I'm just thinking like that's so normal for the parents to kind of want to like, I said 8 o'clock. I said, give me your phone, give it to me now. Like that's it. End of discussion. Because I'm imagining that something's also happening for the parent when they
Hmm.
see their kiddo on a screen. Like what have you heard and learned and come to understand that's
Mm,
happening sometimes inside for the parent that they really feel compelled to do something right now to
for sure.
take it away? Like can you help us understand that piece?
Absolutely. It's interesting, Michelle. It's sort of like you're reading my mind because I was thinking as we're talking, I'm like, wow, we're really focusing on the child's experience, but something's happening for the parents. Like they're not just like, it's really fun to go get in an argument with my kids. Like I would
Right.
really love to like make them upset and make them yell at me. Um, so in EFFT, it's just as important, if not, I don't want to use the word more important, to learn about what's going on for the parent and to have the
Hmm.
parent start to actually express that and talk about that out loud with their kid.
Hmm.
I find that parents, I don't want to make a general statement, but it's so frequent that when we have a parent who appears strict, a parent who is quote unquote controlling, a parent
Hmm.
who is quote unquote seen as strict or mean, certainly in the
Hmm.
get-go they look really angry and frustrated with their kid. They probably are really angry and frustrated. I hear tons
Hmm.
of words about disrespect and
Hmm.
disobedience, like these kind of
Right.
buzzwords of like what they want me to work on is like getting their kid to be
Hmm.
respectful or follow the rules.
Hmm.
But underneath what runs through, I think, if it's okay to say, like every single parent, is a fear that their child is not going to be okay
Yeah.
or is not
Yeah.
okay right now.
Yeah. That really gives me chills when you say that because I'm really hearing that on the outside it could look like, Allie, can you get this kid to listen to me? Can you get this kid to be respectful? They're being so disobedient, they're being so ridiculous, like, oh, and they're angry and frustrated. And you're
Yes,
saying you hear that. You definitely hear that, the big feelings behind that, but you're saying what is a really common through line for parents inside is that they're really concerned deeply about their child.
yes,
They're really
yes,
concerned deeply about what's happening with my kiddo. Why are they sneaking their phone when they would never otherwise do that? Why are they lying to me? Why are they
yes.
giving me such a hard time when it's time to give it up? Like, oh my goodness, is my kiddo okay?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
then go ahead.
I was going to say, and what else is more, as a new mom, but even before having a baby, as an EFFT clinician, there's just truly nothing more important than is your kid okay now? And are they going to
Mm,
be okay? And a little bit
right.
attached to that is, am I doing a good enough job as a parent to get them to be okay?
Oh my goodness, 100%. Like I hear that all the time with parents, and have felt that when I was in like the throes of parent burnout and overwhelm and yelling pattern, like I was felt like I'm failing, my kids aren't okay, and they're not going to be okay, right? So it's all three of them, like, and it
Yes.
would flood my nervous system, and it would be so overwhelming and so intense. And the weird irony is, I knew that the way I was reacting was not helpful.
Right.
Like
Yep.
I was very aware this isn't okay. Like this isn't how I want to show up. But when I was flooded with all that fear, I would just get hijacked, and
Yes.
I would be so rigid and like critical or like harsh, and I would
Right.
get more harsh and more controlling the
Yeah.
more afraid I felt.
Yes. And Michelle, if you'll indulge me for a minute with a EFFT question, what do you imagine would happen if you did not tighten the reins? What do you imagine would happen if you didn't get upset, if you didn't get more angry? Where does your fear tell you your kids are headed?
Oh, I love that question, Allie, because, and I'm taking myself back to between 5 and 8 years ago. And the fear was very loud. And it was like, my kid's going to be disrespectful. They're going to be like unproductive, terrible human beings. They're probably going to become alcoholics because
Yes,
like there's a
yes,
family history of alcoholism.
yes.
So it's like, they're
They're
gonna,
getting
and the fear
dopamine. They
would
need the
just
dopamine. Yeah,
the fear
yeah.
just like woo, took off. It
Yes,
was like, oh my goodness, your kid's 5. Like what? Where's? But so Allie, is that the kind of question that you ask parents when they're
absolutely.
struggling? And what happens when you ask them that question and they tell you, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. This and this and this could happen.
Yeah, so it's pretty much a toss up whether the kid is going to hear that and be moved by it, or it really depends. Some kids are like, yeah, I know you're worried about everything. You're worried about my grades. You're worried about this. You're worried about that. And so in that moment, right, I might like just validate the parent and really show up for them and be their stronger, wiser other and say, like, of course, like, what is more important than your child being a functioning member of society? Like, what's more
Mhm.
important than them being able to hold a job and not spiral and become like an adult who's struggling? Like, this is literally what's most important to you. So that's like column one, right? Is like the kid doesn't care, but I need to resource the parent because that is the
Mhm.
scariest thing I think there is other than losing your child,
Mhm.
right? And maybe
Mhm.
that's a whole other thing, right? But like you're also maybe you're
Right.
afraid of that too. The other
Yeah,
side is that
which
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go. That's good. I'll come back to it because I that fear, yes, of losing your child.
Yes. So that, and I I'm that's how I feel when my daughter drinks 4 ounces instead of seven, and I'm like, she's not gonna make it. And
Right.
I can hear the
Mm-hmm.
irrationality in that, right? But column two is actually great when that happens, which is your kid previously saw you as strict, mean, and perhaps even like that you don't like them very much. Like maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
grown and blossomed into I can't do anything right in with my
Yeah.
mom, or no matter
Mm-hmm.
what I do when I come home, there's always something wrong. It doesn't matter that I
Mm-hmm.
got an A on my math test that I studied for and I did all the chores. Now we're fighting about the phone. And so hearing a
Mm-hmm.
parent actually caring, being concerned, and getting scared is very different than my parent doesn't even like me and finds
Mm-hmm.
everything wrong with me. So it could create a shift for a kid to
Yeah.
hear that out loud.
Yeah. So that makes so much sense that at home and in that negative pattern, the kiddo is hearing, I'm always in trouble. Mom or dad's always upset with me. I can't get anything right. It's never enough. And it's just sort of like, oh, oh, oh. And so when they hear, oh, mom or dad's like really worried about me, like they're really like I can see like they're really scared of losing me. They're scared of what's happening with me when I'm on the screen. They're scared of what I'm gonna, then they start to feel cared for
Yes.
and instead of it's never enough.
Exactly, exactly. It's actually that your child is enough as they are. It's actually that your child really does matter. It's just so scary to think of something worse happening to them or this problem getting more and more intense. And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting, Michelle, because what you just shared, so it goes both ways. We also hope that the child starting to open up about feeling not good enough, feeling consistently criticized, feeling like a failure or like they're never getting it right, is also very different than a kid who's just disrespectful.
Right. Yes. Because on the outside, the kiddo looks different too. They're like stoic or angry or like yeah
Hmm.
or just totally zoned out on the phone or the AirPods like are
Yes.
always like it's like a wall between you and your kid, the stupid AirPods, which I love my AirPods, but I don't like it when my kids have their ear whatever they're called. My son likes to correct me. They're not AirPods, mom. They're
Oh,
some
yeah.
other version of it. I'm guessing because he wants those. Um, but that I really hear what you're saying, that the kiddo also is showing up really differently on the outside than how they feel on the inside. And what happens for the parent when they start to hear that their kiddo is feeling sad or feeling like, oh my goodness, am I disappointing mom or dad? I feel like I'm letting you down. I feel like not enough. I
Hmm.
feel like I can't get anything right. Like what starts to shift for the parent when they start to hear what's going on under the behaviors, the difficult behaviors that they might be seeing on the outside.
I find that parents are actually desperate to know how their child really is and
Mm,
see phones and screens, which they are, as huge barriers to connection,
mm,
right? And huge barriers to communication. Like one word answers on the way home if your kiddo has a screen in the back seat. No
mm-hmm,
clue how they're doing. And it's a whole other podcast episode, but like the only way you know how your kid is doing is their grades. Like, and that's how you sort of
mm-hmm,
assess their well-being is like
mm-hmm,
their grades. Um, and so for a parent to hear their child finally open up and be vulnerable, a lot of the time, this is what they're hungry for. Like
mm,
I need to, what's going on with you when you're in your room for 5 hours
mm,
every day and you don't want to eat dinner and you don't want to talk to us? And no matter if I'm
mm-hmm,
nice or loud or funny, even when I watch the movie you want to watch, you don't want to watch
mm,
it. Like they're hungry to
mm-hmm,
know how their child is doing. And so I
mm-hmm,
find that it does start to create a shift of like, oh my God, I had no idea you felt that way.
mm-hmm.
Or I've been wanting you to talk to me about this for so long, and I'm so glad that you finally. talking, like
Hmm.
relief. I see a lot of relief.
Yeah, yeah. That the parent is like, oh my, I mean, that's scary to think about. The only way I know what's going on with my kids is the grades, because I feel like
I
that's
know.
not enough information, right?
No.
That would be so anxiety provoking to really feel like shut out, really
Yes.
shut out from their kiddo's world, have no idea what's going on with them. I mean, it's no wonder that the parent feels so filled with fear, and it's almost like that screen is, yeah, a portal to another world. It's it just, yeah, it's like it feels like the child is playing with fire, like they're holding something dangerous in their hands. And so the fear is like, give me that phone.
Yes.
This is not okay. Like it's almost like pulling your child out of a street, like the
Yes.
fight or flight response taking over for the parent of like, this thing is scary and creating a disconnection, a wall. I can really appreciate how big parents' reactions might start to get, and then how when they start to hear what's really happening for their kiddo, even if it's stuff that's concerning, that they're like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, I finally hear my kiddo again. I finally have my kiddo again. We finally are talking again. They're finally
Yes.
telling me what's happening inside. I
Yes.
can,
Hmm. And like a parental intent to now I can actually do something helpful, right?
mm,
Like now I can actually help my child. I couldn't
hmm
help them before. I was trying to. I'm pulling them out of the street. I love that, Michelle. I'm just gonna like put that in my pocket and take it to my next family session. Um, but I'm pulling my kid out of the street. I want to help. I'm desperate to help. I know they're not okay, or I have a sense
mm,
that they might not be okay. And now I
hmm
finally can do something. I finally have information. I can show up for my
hmm
kid.
Yeah. And I think that fear that you mentioned of losing their kiddo, I think that is so spot on. I think that especially when it comes to screens, I think that is the attachment signal that's the alarm bell that's going off inside the parent, because it's like they're there but not there. There's this thing that they keep getting pulled into. And then
Hmm.
I don't know about for other parents, but when I read a book, it's a very much a double-edged sword because it's like, this is really good, helpful information, like the anxious generation, for example. And oh my gosh, this device is so
Yes,
scary. And I want to just throw this device in, I just want to rip it out of my kids' hands and throw it away and
a
like
hundred percent.
crush it under a bulldozer or something. Like this device is scary and bad. And
Yes,
so then it comes back to like, oh, uh-oh, if the fear takes over, it's going to be hard for me to show up with connection before
yes,
correction. It's going to be
yes.
hard for me to show up with that validation. And so I'm curious when parents start to, like, now they're starting to feel like, oh, okay, I'm terrified. That's why I get really strict. That's why I get really um, controlling, maybe. That's why I get really intense, rigid. Okay, yes, that makes sense. Oh, and my kiddo is really feeling uneasy. They're feeling like not good enough. Maybe they're struggling with something at school or friends, or they're struggling with how they feel about us. How does the parent, like, how does that help the parent then next time come to the room at 8 p.m. and be able to lead with the connection before correction? Like, how does that all start to come together for the parent?
For sure. So before I answer that question, I love it because I always try to say to parents, the same way that we're not expecting perfection from your children, I'm not expecting perfection from you. So it's not
Mm,
like we've discovered the fear, we've discovered that that blocks connection. And so now you just like organically walk in, like to meditate with your child at 8 p.m. and like get curious with them about like all their emotions. Like I would love that. I would have retired, right? Like if
right.
I would write a book and make a manual and it would be
It would be
over. So,
amazing. Yep. Yep.
but something that's really important for parents, and it can happen with me, the family therapist, or more. more importantly, with their partner, with their friends, with their family, is that how are you going to resource yourself, right? So if your fear starts to take over and it's 8 p.m. and what's running the
Mm,
script in the background is losing your kid and all the things you just saw this like news article about a person on the phone on YouTube saw this video and it was this like horrific thing. How
hmm
do you
hmm
regulate your own fear? Turn to another adult, turn to your therapist, turn to your family,
mm,
and get a buoy underneath you. How do
mm,
you deal with that fear,
mm,
regulate that fear,
hmm
validate that fear of course, I'm scared about my kid.
hmm
Oh my gosh, this is when maybe now you're even scared of the fight. I'm not only scared of my kid, but I'm
hmm
scared of the
hmm
battle. I don't want to go in
mm,
there, but I just read about how you're not supposed to like move limits around, so I have to go in at 8. Um,
hmm
how do you deal with that fear? Can you regulate it? Can you validate it? Can you get a buoy underneath you? Because that
hmm
I think will be I don't want to say the only way, but it's almost necessary in order to go into
hmm
that room in a different place. Otherwise, you're just going to go fear and then you hear pushback and then you're frustrated.
Right. And the fear just takes over then the fight happens and then it's just
Yes.
like whoo, it's like wildfire. It all happens so fast. I
Yes.
really love that. And that's one of the things that I share with parents is I don't know if you're familiar with the RAIN practice.
Mm.
It's R for recognize. I heard it from Tara Brock. She's a
Okay. Oh,
self-compassion teacher. And so recognize, okay, I'm angry and scared and frustrated. Recognize the emotion. A is allow. Okay, can I allow this anger and frustration to be here? They're just normal, natural emotions because I care, because
yes.
you care about your kids. I is interconnected. Like there are probably 100 parents, thousands of parents actually in my time zone in
Yes.
across the world that are having this exact same struggle right now, feeling the same fear, feeling the same frustration, struggling with their reaction, trying to do it different. And then the N is nurture need, like phone a friend,
Yes.
take a walk, splash cold water on your face. I think connection for need is always like, is my partner home? Can I go and be like, I just asked them to put their phone up and they just looked at me and then, or, so that one I think is really powerful. And I'll share with parents that I don't do it. I literally, like, I love what you said, the come in and meditate, because sometimes I think, it's like I expect myself to be Mother Teresa like every time, and that's just not realistic. So recently there was a time when my son was like upset after a screen went off because I think it just kind of like creates a shift in his brain. And not every time, but most of the time, his mood is altered and he's like angry and like, "Ugh." And I was like, okay, I know that he's struggling. I was like very chill. I know that I'm going to help him through this transition. And I was like, wow, I like was okay. What that was cool. And then like the next day or within a week, it was almost the identical situation. He storms upstairs and I come after him mostly to check on him, but I don't know. And then he was like angry at me. And I felt this rage inside. Like, if I say anything right now, it's not
Hmm.
going to be calm. It's not going to be compassionate. It's going to be,
Hmm.
no, this is not okay. Right. It's going to be like
Exactly.
harsh and corrective. And so I took myself on a walk and
Yes.
I called a parent friend and I was like, "Ah." And by the time I came back, I was like, okay, that I felt, like I had gained my balance again. And I went upstairs to check on him, which was a little bit like, am I okay? Like, I wasn't quite sure. Am I totally okay? Like, if the
Yeah.
same thing happens again, I might have to take another walk. And he gave me a hug, and I was like, oh, that's so, what a
Yes.
relief. And I think
Yes.
that comes from him knowing that he doesn't like it either. Like I think that's the thing with our kids is they don't like getting upset with us. It may look like they do,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel good for them. It doesn't feel good when they lose their balance, like Daniel Siegel says, when they flipped their lid. That feeling is scary and upsetting for them. So I think when our kids can know that we know they're struggling and we're not
Yes.
mad at them and we love them and we know they're struggling and we know they're overwhelmed, that when they, when their brain comes back in balance, that they're really appreciative of us showing up with them in a
Yeah.
different way. Is
Mm-hmm.
that something that you see?
Yes, yes, because you're describing a few different things. Like the more that the child learns that frustration on your part, or a louder voice on your part, or even anger on your part is really about being worried, is really about trying to figure out what's best for them. It doesn't feel as much like you can't stand me, like you're mad at me,
Mm,
like I'm
mm-hmm,
I'm bad, or uh you
mm-hmm,
won't get off my case. It becomes something much different when our kid understands and knows what our anger is really about, but also very importantly that you're working on it, right? So
mm-hmm,
um, this isn't really written in the EFFT like training world, but I'm sure it's implied somewhere that like you have to be able to model for your children what you want them to do.
mm-hmm,
And that doesn't mean perfection, but it does mean if you want your kid, when they blow their lid, to know how to come back and say sorry, are you going back and saying sorry and
mm-hmm,
owning your move?
mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm,
are you modeling for your kid that this is what happens when you get frustrated, is that you step away and
mm-hmm,
go for a walk and you come back and you say,
mm-hmm,
hey, I just totally lost it.
mm-hmm,
I did that thing that I told you I wasn't going to do anymore. And that was like 3 days
mm-hmm,
ago. And then I just did it.
mm-hmm.
And then they're like, what? You're not just going to come in here and double down and lecture me on like the book you read about how like screen time creates like a dopamine response, like or whatever.
My kids are like, stop reading. Just don't read any more books, mom.
So yeah,
Oh, so there's
absolutely.
this opportunity for modeling,
Yes.
modeling like how we want our kids to respond to their own anger and frustration, modeling repair so they can come back and apologize. And also, it sounds like that is repairing a rupture. Like if there was a rupture between parent and child, because like you said, none of us are perfect. Like we're going to still struggle. Like our fears are still there. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're gonna take over. And so that's really powerful too, that even if that happens, it's not the end of the world. It's not like we've ruined everything, that when
No,
we can come back and we can repair, and that helps the kiddo, that helps the parent-child relationship. Could you say again, like, what would a repairing conversation sound like?
mm-hmm. So I walk in and I see my kid, and I had recently just started to scream and yell and say, "Get off your phone!" Like I shouldn't have to tell you multiple times. I really lost it. Like I had a hard day at work that day, and I don't have any window of tolerance left.
Mm,
I might go into my kid and I might say, "Hey, I really lost it back there. I did that thing where I raised my voice and I threatened to take it away. And I even made some like pointed comments about you never listening, and you never, I use these never words and these always words. And I know all that does is create friction between us. I'm
mm,
really sorry.
mm,
I'm going to continue to work on that so that when I talk to you about phones and screens, like I don't want to lose my cool. I need to
mm,
change that because I know it's not helping.
mm. Wow, Allie, I love that. And I noticed what wasn't there was because you didn't give me your phone,
Yep.
because you didn't da da
Yep.
da da da. You just kept it about keeping your side of the street clean. You just kept it about owning, I messed up. My pointed comments weren't okay. My getting loud wasn't okay. I am sorry, this wasn't okay, and I'm going to keep trying to do it differently. That is a really powerful repair. And how does that land for kiddos? Like when you hear from kiddos that parents start to be able to do that, or maybe it happens in session, how do you see that affecting kids?
I think it really depends, Michelle, on how entrenched the pattern is.
Mm,
Because if a parent has been doing this for a really long time, and all of a sudden they start talking to a therapist and going to family therapy, and then they come and make a full apology that has nothing to do with the child's behavior at all, rightfully so, kids are like, I don't trust that. I
hmm
don't, sure. Like they
mm,
get really still and they're sort of like, huh, you've said that before, but I don't think it's really going to be different. Or, yeah,
hmm
you're just saying that because the therapist is in the room. Mistrust
hmm
is so normal and quite
hmm
frankly exciting for me because it would be weird if a child, again, I love those families. The child hears it once and they're like, my mom loves me and makes repairs. And so I know how to make repair. And like, great, that would be awesome. But most of the time, they don't trust that
hmm
shift. That shift
mm.
is one time over the course of how many years?
Right, right.
And so we want to just give space for like, this is really hard to take in, or this feels like hard to believe.
Mm. And that's really
Sometimes,
important for parents to hear too, because it sounds like what you're saying is if parents it's kind of important for parents to know when they start doing things differently, it's really normal for their kids to have a little bit of mistrust, to not be able to take it in, to maybe push back a little. And that doesn't mean that anything is bad or wrong, or that you can't eventually, that the kiddo can't eventually accept it, trust the parent, take it in, that it
yes.
can't eventually change. Because it sounds like you're saying that not only is it not bad, that actually you expect it, it's normal, and there's something that is positive about it. Can you say what is positive about the kiddo's mistrust?
Well, for starters, a child is being vulnerable and open.
Oh, they're being honest. Yeah.
Yes,
They're like,
yes,
this doesn't
yes.
feel right.
So the
Oh, I
same way that I
see.
want my kid to tell me the truth about what they're doing on their phone, and then I need to like positively reinforce that they just told me the truth, even if I'm like internally screaming, like, you were watching what, or you were on what website, or whatever. The same way I want
Mm-hmm.
to positively reinforce and celebrate and validate honesty, right? Like, I don't trust this. Because what do I
Mm-hmm.
know to be true? I know to be true that you say sorry, or sometimes you seem to get it, and then months and months of arguments continue to resurface.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I really want to flush out vulnerability and honesty because, again, that
Mm-hmm.
is going to continue connection.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, mom, I don't really know what to do with this. You're starting to
Mm-hmm.
act different. You're starting to validate me or own that you sometimes yell at me. And I don't really buy that that's going to change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or I have to prove it to you.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, I
I
love that. It makes
Right.
sense why it's a positive because
Oh
it's the
yeah.
kiddo being vulnerable and honest. And I love that you said oftentimes when the kiddo's vulnerable and honest, it's hard stuff for the parent to hear, whether it's like a scary website that they were on or something happening with friends or like it's scary stuff for the parent, or if it's just like, I don't believe you, I don't think anything is going to change. And it makes sense why you said earlier that it's so important for parents to feel resourced and grounded because they're holding their own experience, their own difficult emotions, and then they're trying to have enough space to be able to take in whatever difficult emotions or experiences their kiddo is sharing with them. And so I can really hear one, how important that is and how connecting that would be, but also how challenging, how difficult that is for parents.
hmm Yeah, imagine family therapy or not, you're working on yourself, you're doing coping strategies, you're talking to other people about your fear and your anger, and you go in and you nail it. you make a repair, you say, I'm so sorry. I get that my anger just shuts you down. I know your phone is so important to you, and I'm really working on how I talk to you about that. And they're like, okay, sure. Whoa, how are and you're and it's so easy for parents. And again, I'm
Hmm.
like this in my relationships where I'm like, I had all that ready, and if you don't take it,
Mm.
I'm so pissed. Like, fine.
Right.
Oh, you're going to be sarcastic? Sure. Like,
Mm.
slam the door and
Right.
leave.
Right. Because I really, when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, it would feel rejecting, right? As the parent, because now the parent has stepped into their vulnerability
Yes.
and they're
Ye-
taking a risk and doing things differently. And then the kiddo is like, "Meh, nope, not interested." I can see how hard that would be for the parent and how they might feel rejected. And of course, it's not the kiddo's responsibility. So that's why the parent goes to
Yes.
back to the family therapist, back to their support system, and is like,
Yes.
trying to do it differently, but they just slammed the
Yes.
door in my face, metaphorically or
Yes.
literally.
Yes.
And this is so
I'm
hard.
yeah. I'm sure I shouldn't rank these things, Michelle, but after doing family therapy, I'm convinced that rejection from your child is the worst kind of rejection that there is.
Mm.
After
Hmm.
doing couples therapy and family therapy, people describe the
Mm.
dysregulation and the pain and the hurt that comes from being rejected by someone who, up until now, probably has unconditionally loved you or worshiped you.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the
Climbed in your
pain,
lap and
yes,
looked at
yes,
you and
yes.
yeah.
And so, how are you going to take care of yourself? Because I need you to consistently show up differently as your kid. And that might take months before they do you have months in
Hmm.
you? Do you have months of
Yeah.
swallowing and dealing with your own
Mm-hmm.
feelings to model and show up for them how you want them to
Mm-hmm.
show up? So, really make
Yeah.
sure your supports are there. It's so
Mm-hmm.
painful to get it right and you don't see a shift in your kid yet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it could take a while.
Yeah. I really hear you, Allie. I really hear how painful it is for parents to feel rejected by their kiddos. And I don't know if you hear parents talking about this too, but I hear parents talking about it's like as their kids get older, they're very aware of their age and how much time is left. And
Yes.
so they're like, oh my gosh, my kid's 12. It's like they're constantly doing this math. Like, I have only 6 years. Oh my gosh, my kid's
Yep.
14. I only have 4 years. Oh my gosh, my kid's 17. Like, this is it. It's now or
Yes.
never. I'm going to
Yes.
lose them if we don't. And so it's like the pain of rejection and this little like they remember like taking care of them as baby and like basically changing their whole life and giving like probably making a lot of changes and sacrifices for this person who
Yes.
now is rejecting them and pushing them away, and
Yes.
they're afraid, am I going to be able to make this repair and or have our relationship change? Is there enough time?
Yes. Is there too much damage? Is it too late?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so add that on fear of your kid not being okay, fear of losing your child, fear of they're
Hmm.
not going to call you again the minute that they turn 18, like
Mm.
this is the end of the relationship.
Right,
And they're saying,
right,
get out of my room, I hate you, or something like that. When
right,
you,
right, which is kind of like fueling the fear, right?
yes,
Adding fuel to that fire, like it's like
yes,
feels like it's already happening. What
yes.
do you say to parents who are really afraid? Is it too late? Has too much damage been done? My kiddo's, gonna be leaving the house soon. Like, what do you say to those parents when that fear is really running high?
Well, it's certainly validated on the front end, Michelle, right? So I'm as a therapist modeling what I want them to be doing as parents.
Mm.
If there's like an isomorphic parallel process throughout
Mm.
this, right? So
Hmm.
that is totally normal. It's totally okay. Of course you're terrified. Like it's the fourth
Mm.
quarter and there's a 2 minutes left in the game and your
Mm.
kid doesn't seem to give a crap that you finally learned how to apologize and that you're trying to save this relationship. Um,
Mm.
this is a little bit of humor, Michelle, but I usually say something to them like, if repair wasn't possible, I wouldn't have a job. So there isn't a magical like your
Hmm.
kid and you's relationship gets cemented into concrete when they turn
Hmm.
18, and therefore like it's like family therapy doesn't stop. It's not like, oh, you're 19 so family therapy like doesn't exist, right? I wouldn't have a
Hmm.
job. And so
Hmm.
really allowing them to know that consistent change over time, even when it looks hopeless or scary, does repair relationships. If they were
Hmm.
irreparable, I would have to be an accountant,
Hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
I do just as much adult family therapy with
Mm,
30-year-olds saying, hey, I'm finally ready to tell you about why I only call
mm,
on Thanksgiving and Christmas,
wow.
um, because I need to deal with this, right? So letting
Hmm.
them know that it could feel like it's the ticking clock, their kid's about to go to college or about to move out, or and that your kid is going to be okay, and that don't give up.
Hmm. Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
give up.
Don't give up because it's never too late. I
Yeah.
really love that. I mean, I love that you're saying like you do this family therapy with 30-year-old kids, right? Like
Yes,
it's never too late. Like there is 18's just an arbitrary number, really.
it
It's an
is.
arbitrary number. The fear, of course, is real. The fear
Yes.
is valid and understandable. And it is truly never too late. And I love that we have neuroplasticity in our brains. Like our brains are always changing. Our relationships can always change. We can always show up differently and it may take time, which is I think that's helpful when we know that it can take time and that's okay and normal. Because otherwise it might feel like, well, I tried and I did it perfectly and didn't work. So I guess it's not going to work. But if we know and we can anticipate the mistrust, and we
Yes.
can anticipate the skepticism and like I don't know about this because this is not normal and maybe it's just for this therapist, it's just because we're you're putting on a show or whatever. If
Hmm.
we can anticipate that as parents, then we can be like, okay, it's going to take time, and as long as I don't give up and I
Yeah.
keep getting support as the parent, because I
Hmm.
love that you're talking about the parent being resourced, the parent getting support, because I hate that our society is so individualistic, and I feel like the message that we get, even though it's not overt, is you should be able to do it on your own. Like
Yes.
you should
Yes.
be able to do it on your own. You should be able to like do take care of everything in your little nuclear family without any needing any outside supports. And there's plenty of cultures who really have the family system and they really see it totally differently, and
A
there's
hundred
that
percent.
interdependence and relying on people and knowing that it's normal and okay to get support. But I feel like for us, and I know it's not just American culture, but that hyper independence, it feels like I must be failing if I even need to go to family therapy. I must be failing if I need to
Oh yeah.
go talk about my parenting to a therapist. I must be failing if I'm struggling and I can't even tell my friends because it looks like they're doing everything fine and they're fine. There's
Hmm.
just so much, um, so many messages that are not overt, but they're very loud and they're very intense that we should be able to do this all on our own. And if we can't, there must be something wrong with us. We must be failing. And that is just 100% false. Like,
Correct. Correct.
I'm not,
Absolutely.
I can't do it alone. I don't want to do it alone. None of us can do it alone. What would you say about that part, Allie?
I think that's 100% accurate. I think, and I think parents sort of get a referral to family therapy. And I know they're coming in with the implication that family therapy means I'm going to be telling them that everything they're doing is wrong and that they're
Mm-hmm.
screwing up their kid. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that they should already have it together if we even have to be having these conversations, or that they're doing it
Mm-hmm.
wrong if we have to be having these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not possible to do it all by yourself. And quite frankly, it I think it sets parents up for more dysregulation and more continued patterns like we've been discussing without resourcing. I think it's impossible. The
Mm-hmm.
cornerstone of this work is that parents need resourcing. And this, again, a whole other podcast episode. It can't be your child. Your
Yeah,
child
yeah.
isn't going to validate that you sacrificed your whole life for them. Your
No.
child is not going to be like, I'm so
Mm,
grateful that you changed every diaper and finally got me into this middle school after 3 years and moving, and I don't want to do
mm,
any of my homework.
mm.
Like your child
Nope.
can't hold you
Mm,
and can't give you
mm.
the empathy and validation that you're looking for. You have to get it from someone else,
Right,
from
right.
multiple
And
people.
yeah, because we as human beings are wired for connection. And
Yes.
just like there's that parent-child connection that we as the parent need to be supported so that we don't go looking for the support from our child and that we get that support from friends, family, therapists, whomever.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
that, and I hear you, like without us as parents being resourced, it makes those kind of tough moments almost impossible. Like that's how much we need that support.
Yes.
And I feel like we could just, this conversation, it's so hard to come to bring it to an end, but I do know that people have, we only have such a long attention span. So I'm going to ask a final question that if a parent listening right now who's exhausted with daily screen battles, who loves their child deeply, but keeps finding themselves in the same cycle of yelling and power struggles, what would you most want them to hear from you today?
Mm. Um, I would want them to hear that this really is as frustrating as it feels. This really is as impossible as it feels. Can you access what's going on underneath? Can you access what's really happening for you as a parent? And how can you
Mm,
start to talk about that first with people in your life that you trust, and then share your thoughts and fears with your child?
mm,
Right? How can you start to take care of yourself? Acknowledge that this is scary, it is frustrating, it is impossible. Keep the limit and go start to talk to your child and get curious about what's going on with your child.
mm. I really love that because it does give a path, right?
Yes,
That it is hard. It is really hard. You're not crazy and you're not failing. It's really hard. The struggle is real.
yes.
And it starts with the parent being curious about what's happening for me. What am I afraid of when it comes to screens? What am I struggling with in these difficult moments? And getting support from their system. And then now that the parent's a little bit resourced, now they can kind of start to be curious about what's happening with their child. I really love
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
And it feels like hopeful. It feels so hopeful. And I want to ask, as a brand new mom yourself, what do you hope that you will remember to tell yourself when you get to those moments with your own daughter one day in the future?
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you asked me that, and I didn't anticipate it. I struggle so much with frustration and like reactivity, Michelle. Like I really do. Like I sound, oh, Allie's sitting here on this podcast and she's a family therapist and she's like, get curious and have empathy for your child. I am an Italian American woman. I go from 0 to 250. I really hope I can remember that if I'm getting hijacked by anger or frustration or irritation, I'm not resourced enough.
Mm,
I need to take a break. I need to
mhm,
pause, don't double down, and go share that
mhm,
anger and frustration with the appropriate person. Like
mm,
I can get angry and yell with my friends about how
mhm,
awful this
mhm.
is. I can tell my partner
Yeah.
about this thing. I hope I
Mhm.
remember that.
That gives me chills. Yeah, because I really hear you. Like, okay, it's a normal human emotion, anger and frustration. Okay, I'm not well resourced.
Yeah,
I'm struggling. Like
yeah.
that's what's happening here. I'm struggling and there's something I can do. I really love that. And Allie, you've been such an amazing guest today. I feel like our listeners are going to get so much from this episode. I feel like they're going to re-listen to it and be like, what do I say when I walk in the room? Okay, what did Allie say? Okay, let me try that. Or when they take the walk, when they're going to be like, okay, It's okay. It's normal. There's so many helpful nuggets that you've shared, and it's going to get so much value. So thank you so much. And I will put your information in the show notes so people can come find you. You're in
Great.
Florida. So if there is our families in Florida, then they can reach out to you and actually even get to work with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Michelle, this was amazing. Thank you so much.
Good. I'm glad. Yes. So if you are enjoying these episodes, please leave a review. That helps more people learn about the show and hopefully helps more parents feel less alone. And a reminder, this content is intended for educational purposes only and should not be used as a replacement for private psychotherapy services. Compassionate Heart Parenting does not provide psychotherapy services in any capacity. And if you need mental health treatment, please find a qualified professional in your area. The light in me sees the light in you. Be well.